everyone, it's Mindy from My Creative Scoop, and I'm back with another tutorial for my favorite things. Today I'm going to be using this adorable stamp set called Spooktacular Friends, and I'm going to be doing a quick Copic coloring, and then I'm going to show you how I created this background. So let's get started. Okay, so I have colored all the images and die cut them out using the coordinating die set. I'm just going to set them off to the side until we're finished with creating our background. So I have my blending brushes from Picket Fence Studios, and I have a scratch piece of paper right here. So I'm going to trim my scrap paper and have a little bit of bumps in it, so that way I have a little bit of texture to my ground. And I'm going to save both pieces because this is the side we're going to cover after we do our dirt, so that way we can do our sky. So I'm going to just lay this right over so I can create my ground. I'm going to be using my Vintage Photo Distress Oxide inks. And I'm just going to hold it in place. I'm going to start at the bottom and then work my way up. So once I have a nice smooth blend right along the bottom, then I'll start coming up so it will fade a little bit as it goes up. And I think I'm going to do it actually a little bit darker. Okay, so there we have our ground, and now we can go ahead and start the sky. Let's clean up my mess a little. Okay, so we're finished with the vintage photo, and now we're going to go ahead and start adding some orange and yellow to our sky. I'm going to start with the orangey color. It's called Wild Honey. Clean off my brush a little. It's okay if it still has a little bit of brown on it. We still want the sky to have, it's going to have a bunch of different colors. So now I'm going to take my opposite piece and I'm just going to cover up the dirt. I'm just going to line it up. And I'm going to start right at the edge. And I'm going to cover the entire sky, but I'm going to have darker areas here and there. But I am going to add a full layer of this wild honey. All right, I'm gonna set that aside. And now let's get out some wilted violet. This is really gonna give us a foggy, spooky sky. So I just need to cover this a little bit more just because we're gonna come down, but I do want a little bit of a glow in the background. So we're going to keep it those lighter colors. So now I'm going to take my wilted violet along and right along the edge, and I'm just going to go right where I've left it kind of dark with the wild honey, and then softly add that second coat. So it's just adding this fog. So again, since I have a little bit of a darker streak down in here, that's where I'm going to start with adding some of the purple and then blend it out. That way we get a little bit of the purple into the lighter yellow areas. Don't think we need this anymore. So I'm pressing a little harder in those darker areas and then lightly just going back and forth over the lighter areas. So that way it's more like a pressure thing with how dark and how light you want the color to show up. Okay, so now I'm going to clean off my brush again, and we're going to get out chipped sapphire. Let's clean up my area a little bit. So now I'm going to get out my chipped sapphire, and at first I'm just going to add some of this right along the edge. So we really want to darken up right around that border. I'm going to do that all the way around, not really coming inside just yet. So now I'm going to start at the edge, get some of that darker color off, and then I'm going to lightly come across and add a little bit of this darker blue right around the purple area. And since we've lost some of that orange color, let's go back to our wild honey. Clean off my brush. And then now I'm just going to really focus right around those lighter areas just to put that glow back. And I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more purple as well. So clean off my brush so I can add some more of that wilted violet. And again, just going back over where I have the purple laid down the first time, so that way we still keep those highlights with the wild honey. It's just a little bit of purple here and there. So I'm just going to go over and give a quick brush over everything, just so I can pick up all the colors that I have. And I'm going to go over here and pick up this off of my colors. Now I'm going to go over and get my images. Clean off my mess. So now I have all of those colors, those same colors in the background on my brush. So I'm just going to go over right along the side so I can kind of get rid of that white border. But by doing this with all this leftover ink, I'm still going to have the same color that we have in our background. And if you could see the difference between this owl and this owl, how much more cleaner this one looks. And then this owl, just by going over those edges right there, really helps this entire scene just come together. So you're just gonna take those images and just give a little brush. Do the same thing over here. And if you need to go back, just come right back over here and just give it a little brush again. And if you want, or if you faded it out too much, you can always go back and add another coat of blue or purple. But you want to be able to pick up those colors from that background. Okay, so we're all finished with that. I am going to, however, go back over and add a little bit more of the blue, just right along the edge. Okay. Set that aside, put my brushes away. And now let's finish putting this card together. Okay, so I have my spooky tree right here on my block. I'm going to be using VersaFine. I'm going to ink it up really good. And I'm going to set it right over here in this corner. Perfect. So I'm going to be gluing this house right next to the tree, and I'm not going to be putting it on a pop dot because it's in the background and it doesn't need to be popped up. So I'm going to stick this down. And then I'm going to also glue down my little mouse over here on the side, because we're going to put the owl in front on a pop dot. So he looks like, you know, they're trying to run side by side. They're trying to run up to the spooky house. So I'm going to glue this little guy down flat. And then I'm going to stick the owl and the pumpkins both on pop dots. So I'm going to stick the pumpkins right over here in front so that it looks like they're kind of on the walkway. So we're putting them down here. I don't want to put them next to the tree because then these pumpkins are going to be huge next to that tree. So we want to put them down a little bit so we can have a little bit of that depth perception. And then we're going to go ahead and take all of these off of the owl. And put him right up here. Make him running. So now what I want to do is, my house a little crooked. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and take some of our markers and give it a little bit more definition. So I want to create a little bit of grass down here. So I'm going to take my E79 and I'm just going to come up right along the bottom of the paper and just create some little flicks right over our distressed background. I'm going to add a couple back here by the tree. Of course, they're going to be smaller this time. Same thing over here by the house. And then again, going all the way along the bottom of the paper. And when you make grass, you want to go in all different directions because grass doesn't all grow straight, it grows all different ways. Okay, so we have some texture there. Now what I want to do is take my white gel pen and we want to bring those ghosts to life. So I'm just going to kind of trace and just use my gel pen to color in. Same thing with this guy over here. and this one up here. All right, so now we are ready for our sentiment. I'm going to be using my VersaFine again. I'm going to line up my sentiment right there on my block and ink this up. I'm using the sentiment, "You are a spooktacular friend." All right, so there you have it. Now it's ready to be mounted on a card base, and I use some foam tape for that. So here we have it. We have our completed card. The backgrounds look very similar. Of course, it's going to be lighter and darker in certain spots if you can't get it to look the exact same, but you get the gist of the technique. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them below. I always try to answer them here on the My Favorite Things YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.